All right. I want to start by giving all glory and praise unto the Lord Yahawah by Hashem, Yahawashi, Brakatah Yahawah, Brakatah Yahawashi, Brakatah Yahawah, and Brakatah Yahawashi. I want to start by giving all glory and praises unto those holy and powerful names of Yahweh being the Father and Yahawashi being his only begotten Son. This is Brother Malachi coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. And I just wanted to do a real quick lesson or so on, the spirit just kind of hit me to, briefly or whatever, speak about the injustices of this particular kingdom that we're living in, known as America, aka Babylon the Great. And it's July 3rd today, and we're coming up around the time, or we're coming up tomorrow would be July 4th. So that would be so-called Independence Day for Babylon, for America, ultimately. And I say, a part of the message or the gospel, the true understanding of the scriptures is to warn the nation of Israel, be watchmen and warn them and give them warning of the coming destruction, and to wake them up and to build them up with the words and power of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, and be comforted through the words and faith that we have in Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. But as well, to say, this kingdom, okay, that we're currently in right now is wicked. Okay, the scriptures speak about in Job 9:24 how the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. Okay, and that's Esau Edom at this time. And we know that Esau Edom's the so-called white man, white woman, and white child or kid. Okay, and I say so-called because they're not actually white, and we're not so-called black. These are just play on words. These are color psychology. It's it doesn't exist. They made it up. Okay, and I got inspired to do this particular video because I was watching Brother Malcolm of the GMS Chicago camp, and the spirit was on me to kind of land back off his video a little bit. It's not a complete land back, but I wanted to land back on a particular point, and some of the commentary that he made in this particular video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the video back. I'm gonna let him say his piece. I'm gonna let him say his point. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna, with the respective precepts, and with my biblical commentary, and we're gonna, wrap this lesson up. But ultimately, this place is a very wicked, defiled place, and it's filled with injustice. Okay, if you look back at the history of America, so-called, not so-called, but you look back at the history of America, aka Babylon the Great, this place has been nothing but wicked and evil unto our people, even unto this very day. Okay, this, and can the so-called Israelites, Salaki, not so-called, we are the Israelites, forgive me, I just, I'm kind of foggy, but the point is, Salaki, the point is that this place has a very heavy hand of injustice that has been dealt to our people. And why is that? Because we've sinned against the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. All right, and I want to bring that out. Hold on. So I'm gonna let him say what he wants to say. Well, I'm gonna let Brother Malcolm bring out his point, and then I'm gonna land back off of it. But I wanted to get a particular precept in Jeremiah 2, because the reason all this evil, and when you go into that word evil, it just ultimately goes into a bad time. We're going through a bad time within this particular captivity, within this particular kingdom. All right, because guess what? We've sinned against the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, each and every last single one of us, even the elect. But see, the difference between the elect and the rest of the 2/3 and the rest of the rebellious, wicked Israelites that are going to be purged, that are going to be destroyed, okay, for disobedience, is that the elect hearken and they are seeking forgiveness, okay, for their sins and iniquities, and things that they did wrong in this life, okay, in this life and in their past life, because reincarnation is a biblical point, is a biblical truth, okay. We've been on this earth many times, okay, in different bodies, but the same spirit, okay, if you can understand that. But ultimately, we've sinned against the Lord Yahawashi, so therefore the Lord brought us into the land of our enemies, man. And now we're serving them. We're in captivity. We're in captivity unto this day. Okay? It's a little bit more lax, more easier now, but yet Jake is still struggling. Okay? And the ultimate thing that we need for success, to win the battle that we're currently in, all right, because this is not a battle, though we are in the flesh, it's really a spiritual battle. You know what I'm saying? And we got to depend on Yahawashi. We can't think about the flesh and the flesh. Oh man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I got to eat. I got to You overly think about the flesh too much, then hey, you got to depend on the spirit. You got to depend on the Lord Yahawashi. All right, because Yahawashi knows we have need of certain things. He knows that we need this. He knows that we need that. We need this to do what we need to do. He knows this. Okay, the Lord is not ignorant. He's not dumb. All right, but we need to continue to focus on the spirit, continue to focus on Yahawashi, man. We're going to have to continue to be tapped into the spirit of the Lord Yahawashi for the times that we're coming into. All right, but the point that I'm making here is that this place is highly, and I mean highly, have dealt, like I said before, an unjust hand to our people, and will continue to deal in unjust hand. They're going to tap back into that injustice. They're going to tap back into that bloody spirit that they always been in. Okay, these people, these Edomites, these individuals, man, they don't like Jake, man. And it's biblical. They're supposed to have a perpetual hatred for you. Okay, and when we're in their land, we're in their kingdom right now, and they're gonna come down with great wrath. And I'm finna go and show you in times past. I got a video, and I got some chat GPT stuff I looked up, history and stuff of the history of these devils and how they've came, raped, robbed, and murdered and destroyed, Jake in the past. And guess what? The same works that they did in the past is the same works they're going to do in the future. All right? So that is to say, hey, you can't depend on this place. You can't depend on America, okay, through the spirit. You can't. This place ultimately cannot be our rest. And that's why I'm bringing out particular points and going into the scriptures and going into, historic, factual evidence and points to show you that this place has had a perpetual hatred for you and our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which makes up the house of the tribes of Israel, okay? It's had a perpetual hatred towards you and will continue to have that perpetual hatred towards you because it's the storyline, it's the will of the one that you ignorantly call Jesus. It's Yahawashi storyline that is at work, that is at hand, okay? And a part of that storyline is that these Edomites don't like you. You can't make them like you. You can't love them into liking you. You can't fuck them into liking you. You can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? We deal with the Edomite woman, whoop-de-whoop, just because she, it just is what it is. We the kings of the earth. We can do what we want. But the point is, she's still an Edomite. She's still going into slavery, unless she be a concubine or something like that. But nonetheless, the point is, like I say, a heavy unjust hand has been dealt. Okay, a heavy unjust hand has been dealt and will continue to be dealt to our people for the sins, and iniquities going back to the third and fourth generation, or up into the third and fourth generation. Whatever we did with this spirit in whatever in a different body. You know what I'm saying? Maybe particularly in a different time. But nonetheless, we've sinned against the Lord. So the Lord brought us he raised up our enemies against us. And the historical proof shows how the Lord raised up our enemies to come and kill us unjustly. Now, it's just in the sight of the Lord because none perisheth being innocent when you go into Job. But nonetheless, on the surface level, they just came and just fuck y'all up, straight murdered you. Now, the Lord sees that. They're not going to get off scot-free. That's why they're going into captivity. When you go into Revelations, the 13th chapter, going into the 9th verse, going into the 10th verse. So the Lord Yahawashi is not mocked. But nonetheless, we are the watchmen, and we are supposed to warn you and give you warning and constantly give you warning, feed the sheep, through the spirit of and make you aware so that you're not ignorant, okay, of how Esau moves, who Esau is, and what he's finna come down and do. Because everything he's finna come down and do to our people is already been written. You know what I'm saying? 2/3 of the nation of Israel is finna get destroyed by Esau and however way they get fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Whether they get in the FEMA camp, Esau come roll down on them and kill everybody. Now, it's finna get bad. Or whether they get caught up in a race riot, it's finna be Jacob versus Esau on a grand scale. But we here, Lord willing, be a part of that number. We're not finna hop into a carnal fight. We're finna depend on Yahawashi. We're finna depend on the Spirit. Okay, that's how we're gonna be successful. That's how we're gonna overcome this man and his kingdom. But real quick, I know that I'm kind of long-winded, and it gets like that sometimes when you really tap into the Spirit. Sometimes you want to make a short video and it turn into a long video. You want to make a long video, it might be short. It's just whatever the Spirit does. You know what I'm saying? The scriptures, the Lord Yahawashi is the one that declares our thoughts and gives us, the words to speak. So whatever the Spirit wants to bring out, that's what I'm gonna say. So nonetheless, I want to go into this Jeremiah 2. I'm gonna start at 13. KJV, I got the KJV on the left and I got the NLT on the right. It says, but on the left, it says, verse 13, it says, for my people have committed two evils. Okay? And the scriptures in and throughout say the same stuff. You're going off, I'm finna fuck you up. You're going off, I'm finna fuck you up in various different ways. You know what I'm saying? But right here it says, for my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me. Who is the me? That's the me is Yahawah. Okay? Now all power and principality and everything has been given over to the Son, which is Yahawah. So we must worship Yahawah, which is the name of the Son, Yahawah being the Father, Yahawah being his only begotten Son. We must worship Yahawah and fear Yahawah in order, we got to go through Yahawah because Yahawah is the mediator. He's the mediator between us and Yahawah, the Father. You see what I'm saying? It says, they have forsaken me. Okay, in times past, the Israelites, these, and even the elect potentially have forsaken Yahawah, have gone off. Shit, even Solomon, in a sense, wickedly forsook the Lord Yahawah and started worshiping other gods. The same thing that Solomon did is the same thing that majority, if not all of Israel did at one point in time. And that and the various other sins and iniquities that, that the children of Israel indulged in. So that's why we make these particular videos, for us to be warned of our enemies, but also to be warned of Yahawah. Because Esau is he's gonna come down with great wrath, but the Lord Yahawah, like it says in Isaiah 45, I want to say 17 or 7. Forgive me, but it's the Lord Yahawah that creates the good and creates the evil. So ultimately, we got to fear the Lord, because the Lord is the one that controls all things, and he's the one that's actually bringing our enemies against us. See? Because we've sinned, because we went off, because we are disobedient. This is his will. This is his story. This is his narrative. He controls all things. We are just mere vessels and actors within a grander storyline. Okay? And within this storyline, the Lord's going to raise up the enemies for a final battle, for a final hoorah, because we're at the end of this man's kingdom. We're at the end of this man's rulership. Because guess what? After this rulership is the rulership of Jacob. It's the rulership of the Israelites. Consistently, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So you must know this. You must have understanding. Okay, you must not be ignorant unto what's coming upon the earth, because it's going to be a change-up, a changing of the guard, if you will. So if you caught up trying to be the best you can be in America, trying to be the best money getter, get all the bitches and all this other shit, these women are defiled, and this money is corrupt. So what's your only option? Your only option is to return unto the Lord Yahawah, lest you perish. That's the message of this video. Return unto the Lord Yahawah. Be warned of these particular facts and historical things that I'm finna bring out and everything, or you're gonna die. Period. That's what the men of the Lord are telling you. It's what we're telling you. You know what I'm saying? The message isn't fucking rocket science. It's not that hard to understand. But see, you got 2/3 of the nation of Israel who are not going to hearken and return unto the Lord. They're going to stay in the, I'm going to say, fuck the Lord and forsake the Lord mindset. That's their mindset. But we want to be of the mindset to be on the Lord's good side, to be on the Lord's, Psalms 91, the Psalms 91 spirit. If you ever read Psalms 91, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the spirit that we want to be. We want to be hid under the shadow of the Almighty, which is who? Yahawashi. It says, for my people have committed two evils, for they have forsaken me, the fountains of living water, right? Within Yahawashi life. But forsake him, you're going to die. You're going to fucking be, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have an evil time. And that's what the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who have not returned unto the Lord are going through. Okay? And even when you come into the truth, yeah, you still go through hardship, but you understand why. You understand what's happening to you. Not just, oh man, woe is me. No, nigga. It's you come into it and you start to understand what the fuck's going on. Okay? It says, and hew them out cisterns and broken cisterns that can hold no water. Ultimately, going into these other gods, man. It says in verse 14, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Now I want to read this in the NLT because the NLT brings it out. You want to have proper understanding, but the NLT brings it out so you can have a little bit, you can understand some of the old English, and things of that nature. But I recommend, having a full, thorough understanding of the KJV before you start hopping into other versions. But anyway, the point is here in Jeremiah 2:27, Jeremiah 2:17, it says, and you have brought this upon yourselves. So the Lord's finna bring evil, but the Lord ain't just bringing evil unto us for no reason. The 2/3 ain't finna get destroyed for no reason. There's a reason. It says, and have brought this upon yourselves by rebelling against your Lord and your power, even as you were led, even as he was leading you on the way. I'm gonna read that. I guess I can read verse 18, and that's the point on that. And then I'm gonna play the video, and then I'm gonna get some other stuff. But it says, and whatever the Spirit else wants to bring out today. But it says, what have you gained by your allegiances with Egypt? And these were captivities of the past that Jake went into and wanted to cling to. You can't cling unto the heathen captives that you're under. You can't cling to the heathen gods that you're under at that particular time of that particular captivity, because there's only one Lord, man. And that's Yahawashi. You got Yahawah, you got the Father, and you got Yahawashi, but we worship Yahawashi. It says, what have you gained by your allegiances with Egypt and your covenants with Assyria? These are two captivities. What good to you are the streams of the Nile or the rivers of Euphrates? It says in verse 19, your wickedness will bring its own punishment. Your turning from me, who? Yahawashi, will shame you. And you will see what an evil, bitter thing it is to abandon your Lord, your power, and to not fear him. See, that's the reason Jake is all fucked up now. And I mean, just all fucked up. Because, see, Jake has a lack of fear of Yahawashi. And that's not good. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all. All right. It says, and not to fear him. I, the Lord of armies, have spoken. All right. The Lord finished. What happens when you don't fear him, when you don't hearken, when you just do what you want to do, that doeth thy will spirit? Oh, I can just do whatever. All right. And the Lord gonna let you die in horrible ways, however, and he ain't gonna give you no safety. He ain't gonna deliver you out of nothing. Keep calling on Jesus to see what happened to you. You're gonna die. You're gonna die miserable with the white man's God in your mouth, like a fool. Anyway, let's get into the video. It's just a little quick snippet or two. I just wanted to play here, and then we'll get some more precepts.
Be a bad guy, but not on the same level. Robbed and spoiled, and they are all of so-called blacks. Guards, okay, and then they set in all these horrific new rules that allow this whiteness to have front of the line benefits, and basically the so-called white man here in America had a 500-year head start over his so-called black counterparts, who was marrying his women. White women were choosing to marry so-called black and native men and not marrying white men. So they had to put in the miscegenation laws. They put in all these where you had no right.
I'm gonna say this as well, then I'm gonna let the video continue. Imagine how low and how weak your enemy is that they gotta put in laws, literal laws, that you can't, the white woman or any other woman can't. I can't say any other woman, but that if you deal with Jake or if you deal with the so-called black man, that's against the law. You can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's weak as fuck. But this is what Esau was doing. This is the type of little baby, little devil baby, little bitch ass, Edomites that we dealing with, man. They had to put in laws to stop their women, their own women, from dealing with Jake. And Jake was even in a greater state, and they still want to deal. And they dealing now. Your woman is gone. I want to tell you this right now, Esau. It ain't getting no better for you. Your woman, the so-called Edomite woman, don't belong to you no more, gang. They belong to Jake, all right? And all these women belong to Jake. They know that. Deep down, on some level, man, they know. But see, Esau got goodies. In the heathen nations, they got goodies and they got other stuff. So the women they're gonna play ball, but man, we gonna take all y'all women away from y'all. The ones that we want, of course. Y'all can keep the ones that we don't want. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm gonna let the video play the rest.
Or political work that they use to categorize things, because you have the right to bear arms. That's why they say firearms. But you think about that. But they put all these laws in place that basically oppressed and arrested the development of so-called blacks, all right, here in America, and of oppression, which railroaded them to jail for the littlest things, into the prison.
In which he's making some great points right here. I just gotta pause and just say this as well. This lets you know, like I said out, and I said before, I was gonna bring out history, and he's speaking on some of the history right now. That, hey, nigga, this isn't the place that you can rest. Look at what they've done in the past. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing changed. These the same devils. These the same devils that tried to hinder you from taking a step. Every time you try to take 2 steps, Esau trying to go with a knife and with a sword and cut your legs off and have you bleed out. That's the type of devil that we dealing with. You got to understand. Salaki, hold on. You got to understand. Hold on, though. 1 sec. But yeah, man, so you got to understand. These the same devils, man. Ain't shit changed, bro. And they're finna come down again with that very same wrath. All right? So we can't be ignorant unto this, bro. This ain't the place that we can kumbaya with these devils, man. These motherfuckers are below us. The Lord said in Deuteronomy 7:6 that we were above, roughly paraphrasing, we were above all nations. So I'm not finna be buddy with somebody that the Lord said that needs to be below me, man. Because that's how the Lord set it up. We got to understand that this ain't our shit. This ain't our shit. We want to think our thoughts and all this other shit. This ain't our shit, man. The Lord created this shit. So if the Lord said, hey, these heathens right here, these 17 other nations outside of Israel, see, yeah, these niggas right here, these heathens right here, they're trash. They're nothing. They're below you. They're your slaves. They're your, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. Okay? I ain't saying that you can't be buddy or you can't, have a friend in the world and y'all benefit from each other. But at the end of the day, on a spiritual level, on a God level, we are gods according to the scriptures, according to Psalms 82:6. So act like it. Jake don't want to see the reason a lot of Jakes don't come into this faith is because they don't want to improve themselves or hold themselves to a higher standard of being. This is why the Lord got the elect. This is why the elect are going to be the kings of the earth, are going to be the new governing, the real governing body of the earth and of the universe. Ultimately, as much as the Lord has created, and we don't know the fullness of his creation, but what we know is that the Lord Yahawashi is going to have the elect, under Yahawashi, of course, and under King David, of course. We're going to rule, man. We're going to lead everything. We're going to have the charge. The Lord's going to give us charge over all this shit. And he's going to give us charge as well over the heathens. We're going and their women, they gone. We're going to take them. It ain't going to be nothing. Everything right now that we're going through, and that, Salaki, hold on. My bad. Give me a second. Alright, so listen. Everything right now that we're going through is it has been set up and already predestinated from on high, from Yahawashi, man. Alright? So I'm gonna let the video play.
Fulfilling the scripture of Isaiah, is it 42 and 22, I believe? 42, 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled, and they are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. So this is what happens to so-called black people, especially. It happens to, the natives and other brown, but not on the same level as it happens to Judah. And the enemy understands that Judah is the head tribe, so Judah is attacked the hardest to keep them down, because if Judah ever stands up in a position of leadership, that is a threat to them. That's why they destroyed over 200 so-called black towns and settlements that were autonomously wealthy beyond the Edomites here in their own country, and so-called white people went out and destroyed all of them. And what did they replace them with? They replaced them with ghettos and welfare, and the capitalism in America and democracy runs in a way that there has to be an enemy, there has to be a bad guy, there has to be multiple classes with one class at the top. That's the way it works, and it's been a failing system because it keeps certain people eternally poor, and it keeps other people eternally, meaning just a long time when I say that, wealthy. All right, it doesn't create wealth across the board where everyone can live in harmony and peace. It creates classes. Okay, and then there's no true democracy because you don't have a voice in anything.
Right. Now, that's mostly the point. If you want to watch this particular video, you can go watch it in its totality. There's the channel right there. Hold on. There's the channel right there. You can go watch it. It's the most recent video. But him saying what he just said in the last minute or two was what inspired me and what I wanted to land back off of it. Because when he said that 200 plus cities were destroyed by our enemies, Esau, Edom, so-called white men, which means that there were 200 plus cities at a point in time in U.S. history that were flourishing, that were doing well, likened unto Black Wall Street, that they were in a sense sovereign. They were doing well. They were basically doing good, And what did Esau do? Esau came and destroyed the shit. That's enemy. That's what enemies do. That's what devils do. That's what the adversary does. This man is the devil. He will always be the devil because the Lord set him up as the devil. He can do nothing but rape, rob, and murder and kill. That's all that's on Esau's spirit. He just wants to kill shit. That's all he can do. He can't bring life to nothing. He can't. Esau, he's the wicked. He's a piece of shit. So I was like, okay, it inspired me to go and look up, okay, what are these particular towns and places and things of that nature that were destroyed? How were they destroyed? What were their names? What year were they destroyed in? Like that to me, that sparked my interest to want to make this video and want to go into more detail as to, damn, okay, the enemies came and did all that. This would be a good video to bring to Jake to show them and more evidence to show, hey, look what the evidence, look at what these devils did. When you was doing good, look what they came and did to you. Remember this. Remember, these are the same devils. This is the same spirit. These the same so-called white people. You know what I mean? Which echoes Micah 10:2 and 10 all day. That you can't lay your head down here, bro. This is roughly perfect. This is not our rest. You know what I mean? So from there, it took me to ChatGPT, and I looked up. First, I looked up this, and so we can get the full picture. I just blatantly typed in "white people destroyed Black Wall Street." Like, these devils came up and destroyed shit. And I wanted to see if ChatGPT was going to be truthful and just be straight, and it was for the most part. It says yes, during the Tulsa race massacre. What is a massacre? It's a large killing of a large number of individuals. And the Lord brought, like I say, the Lord brought the enemies, Esau, Edom, against the Israelites that were doing quote unquote well. Because the Lord, though they were doing well, hey, listen, none perishes being innocent. The Lord brought, and everyone that was supposed to die that day during this was supposed to die. Because the Lord, we know that the Lord, let me bring that out. Because people get offended like the Lord doesn't control life and death. Like the Lord don't do good and evil. People don't understand that shit. All these are in the hands of the Lord. So if the Lord want to take you out, he can take you out. Hold on. This is Psalms. She wanna play, huh? This is Psalm 68:20. It says he that is our power is the power of salvation. And unto the power the Lord belongeth. Or I want to say, and unto Yahawah. I'm just gonna read it verbatim. I don't really know. It says, unto God, the Lord belongeth the issues of death. So if the Lord want to kill you, he's gonna be the one that's responsible. Right? It's not gonna be Satan. Oh, Satan, no, man. The Lord controls death and life. Okay, the Lord does good and evil. My bad. Let me see. Let me get that Isaiah 45:7 real quick. It says, I form the light, I create the darkness, I create peace, and I the Lord, do all these things, man. The Lord does all these things, man. So you got to figure out, the Lord Yahawashi at the end of the day, because the Lord brought the enemies against, this particular province, Black Wall Street, or the Greenwood district, as is more commonly particularly known as. And the Lord's going to bring another massacre to the 2/3. Ain't nothing changed. Since y'all want to think that these devils, these beasts, these cave motherfuckers is your friends and shit, you get money with them, I don't give a fuck. These are the Edomites. You got to understand what the Lord said. What you think don't mean shit. It's all about what the Lord Yahawashi got to say about about the subject. All right? And what the scriptures say about these people, this nation of individuals, is that they the devil, and they're finna come down with great wrath, and they're finna go into captivity. Now it says, yes, during the Tulsa race massacre, a large white mob attacked the predominantly black so-called, so there was Israelites ultimately in this particular area, Greenwood district, often called Black Wall Street, because of the concentration of successful black-owned businesses and professionals. It says the destruction of more than 1,000 homes. These devils hated you and had so much envy that you were doing well. They came and destroyed over 1,000 homes. And you mean to tell me, yeah, I'm going to trust these motherfuckers. Yeah, I'm going to sign a contract. They're not going to break it. Didn't they break every treaty that they signed with the Native Americans? Every last single one. But these are clearly some people that you should put your faith in and trust. This is clearly a kingdom that you should put your faith in and think about longevity. Don't be a fucking dumbass. But regardless, I'm not gonna read all this. This is a lot to read. I'm gonna slowly go down. You can read this on your own time, or you can go to ChatGPT yourself and look up this information. It's the information's at your fingertips. Don't be lazy. Okay? And then after that, I put, is this not injustice blatantly? Is this not wicked? Is this not evil? What they did, was that not evil as fuck? I wanted to see what ChatGPT was going to say. It said, yes, the destruction of the Greenwood District during the Tulsa race massacre was widely regarded as a profound injustice. And they're not going to get away with that. They're not going to get away with that. Don't think for 1 second that Yahawashi is going to allow them to destroy his people in such a way, even though that they went off and sinned and the Lord, is in control of life and death, and no one perishes being innocent. So all those people that need to die that day died because the Lord wanted them to die. But it's still wicked. And the Lord Yahawashi is not going to allow them to get off scot-free for doing what they did, even if the Lord did put the Spirit on them to do it. You know what I mean? Okay. So after that, I said, you can read this on your own time. After that, I said, okay, what other places like Black Wall Street were destroyed throughout history? I want some more examples. Give me some more. And this is what ChatGPT gave me. I'm going to read some of this. It says Rosewood, a predominantly black town in Florida that was destroyed by white mobs after a false accusation against a black man. Haven't heard that before, Most residents fled and the town was never rebuilt. That's lost income. That's lost financial betterment. Generational wealth gone, all because some fucking devils get mad because they not doing good. But these are the people y'all want to trust though. Nah, you got the Greenwood District. We understand that's Black Wall Street. We're gonna go down to Africaville. Historically black community was demolished by municipal authorities in the name of urban renewal. And urban renewal was just ultimately, hey man, fuck you niggas, y'all finna have to go somewhere else because we finna build some whole new shit. And we ain't finna compensate you. So if you was living here, now you're not living here no more. Go somewhere else. Or die. Or whatever else they did. Or get arrested or some shit. You know what I'm saying? It says Haiti. It says a flourishing black business district was largely dismantled when a highway was built. As part of urban renewal, we got Overtown, a once vibrant black neighborhood, and it says it lost most of its population and business base after interstate highways cut through the community. Seneca Village, you can look at the year. It says a community of black landowners and immigrants was displaced through eminent domain to create Central Park District 6, 1966 onward. Under apartheid, over 60,000 residents were forcibly removed after the area was declared whites only district. Imagine that. It says in Warsaw Ghetto, 1943, said the Jewish community was destroyed following the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, and the neighborhood was systematically destroyed by Nazi Germany. I feel like there's way more than this, but if there's really more than 200 plus places that were destroyed, then we would be talking about the death and murder and all the wicked shit that Esau did to those particular provinces all day. Okay. So ultimately we need protection. Ultimately we need Yahawashi. I keep bringing out this precept because I feel like this precept is going to be more and more prevalent as the days to come, because Esau is going to get back into that bloody spirit, back into that wicked, murderous Cain and Tubal Cain spirit. And you got to understand. Now, I'm going to get right to the point. I'm going to read both of the verses that I want to read. It says in Psalms 59 and 2. Psalms 59 and 2. It says, deliver me from the workers of iniquity. We understand. Hey, man, these are, these wicked ass Israelites and these wicked ass Edomites, man. And really all workers of iniquity. But we understand that Esau is in rulership right now. And it says, deliver me from the workers of iniquity and save me from bloody men. Man, that's Esau, man. That's Esau all day. You know what I'm saying? Psalms 139 and 19. Surely thou wilt slay the wicked. Who's the wicked? Esau. O power, depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. Let me see here. No, that's not what I want. See if I want to get any other particular precept. Let me get this. Here we go. Couldn't find it. Now, let me see. We're going to start at 12 because this is the principal thing in which we must be doing. Continue as far as everything, fearing the Lord, praying to the Lord, fasting, and just praying for mercy, man. We need mercy, man. The only way we're going to get up out of here is the Lord redeem us and deliver us from the destruction, deliver us from the missiles, deliver us from the bloody men, which is Esau, Edom, deliver us from the heathens. We are likened unto a worm. A worm is a very defenseless, small, insignificant creature that just crawls. It doesn't have any way of attack and it doesn't really have any way of defense. See, but we are likened unto that worm, but we do have an attack and we do have a defense, and it's Yahawashi. Now, if we don't tap into Yahawashi and we are that worm, then we're just gonna get stepped on. See, if you got Yahawashi, you don't get stepped on. But if you do have Yahawashi, then you don't get stepped on. But if you don't, then you get stepped on. It says, sow to yourselves righteousness, okay? And reap in mercy. Break up the fallow ground, for it is time. Now is the time. You need to repent and return to the Lord like yesterday. It says, break up the fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, Yahawah, till he come in the reign of righteousness upon you. It says in verse 13, because this is what Israel is doing right now, 2/3, and this is the spirit they're going to continue to stay in, which is why the Lord's going to do a Tulsa massacre on their ass. He going to do, he going to do even greater evil's going to come upon them. It says, ye have plowed wickedness. Okay, so, hey, you have reaped iniquity. You have eaten the fruit of lies because thou didn't trust in the way. But it says because thou didst trust in the way of the multitude of mighty men. Now it says in verse 14, I'm gonna wrap it up here. It says, therefore, thou shalt a tumult arise among thy people, and all the fortresses shall become spoiled as Shalom spoiled Balaam. Shalman spoiled Betharabel in the day of the battle. The mother was dashed into pieces among her children. All right. So Lord, ultimately, man, Lord gonna bring an evil against you, bro. If you don't fucking repent and return unto him, man. And that's the main point of the video, whole point. And Lord willing, it was edifying and built up, the hopeful elect, man. Until the next video, man. Shalom, man.